Because if you don't have that within yourself and you seek it outside, you will encounter both good and bad people. And if you encounter bad people, and how you interpret the external world depends on what others tell you, we may find ourselves in situations like, for example, I know you've been unfaithful to me. Let's imagine that it's actually true. I know you've been unfaithful to me, but since you tell me otherwise, since you tell me I'm crazy, that I've lost my sanity, that I'm irrational, that it's all in my imagination, because I validate myself through you, I'll believe it. But no, I have an axis within me, and what I see, what I live, what I experience, I believe it because I assess the external world with my own judgment, and my judgment is valid. There are people who make us feel small, there are people who make us feel bad, and sometimes we are unable to understand why. I don't know if it has ever happened that you're with someone, be it a boss, a certain family member, friend, or even a partner, and when you're with that person, regardless of the external circumstances, you feel small. You feel inferior to that person, even though you're both human beings, but automatically that person appears, and there's an aura that makes you go from being a normal size to being shrunk with a hairdryer, really small. It makes you small, right? And here I always tell my patients that what a person transmits to you, the vibe a person gives you, is enough for you to make a decision, and then from the outside, we'll see what we do. But to distance yourself from a person, it's enough how they make you feel. And I always use the example of the ceramic stove. If the stove is on, and I put my hand on it, when I get burned, I'll move my hand, okay? So, what a person transmits to us is exactly the same. If you get burned, you don't leave your hand there, you're getting burned, and you say, let me see if I'm really getting burned. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy and interpreting reality in a way that's not accurate. Maybe it doesn't hurt that much, maybe I'm exaggerating. Or maybe the stove isn't even on and it's. No, you move your hand, and then you see if the stove is on and turn it off. Well, the vibe, what a person transmits to you, is the same. You're causing me discomfort. You're making me feel small. There's something about you that doesn't make me feel good. I'm not going to stay here to see if maybe I'm crazy, if I'm exaggerating. No, because I have something inside me that I trust completely, and it's how my environment makes me feel. And if you make me feel bad, I'm going to distance myself, and then, with perspective, I'll decide because things look much clearer from out here. So, when I can gain perspective and distance myself, I'll see if it was really my interpretation, if I really exaggerated, if maybe I was having a bad day at that moment and that's why I took your comment the wrong way. But above all, I'm going to trust myself because I am important enough, I validate myself enough, I know myself as a person, and I know who I am, and if you make me feel bad, something is wrong. So, I'm not going to wait for you to destroy me just so I have concrete proof that you were going to harm me. Instead, the moment you make me feel this way, I distance myself. There's an experiment that was conducted at Stanford University, which I love, conducted by Zimbardo. He gathered a group of mentally stable young people, all with roughly the same variables, and divided them into two groups, okay? They transformed a basement in the psychology department of Stanford University into a fake prison and placed them there, saying, half of you are guards, and half are prisoners. Let's see what happens. It was simulated, and they were paid what was then $15. So, there wasn't a significant monetary incentive, but there was a small one. What happened? What happened was that, despite it being an experiment and the participants being aware of it, the prisoners started behaving like prisoners, and the guards began acting like guards, punishing the prisoners, taking away their mattresses and blankets, making them walk naked through the prison and humiliating them, even resorting to physical aggression when they were all equals. The prisoners developed emotional disorders as a result. But why? If they had ultimately been placed there for an experiment. Because sometimes there are people who position themselves above you, and you believe this bias of authority. Some people put themselves on a pedestal, and it seems like you have to respect the pedestal they've climbed onto. But it's not like that. That's why it's very important for you to have an inner axis that helps you validate what's outside and say, okay, fine, in the case of the Stanford experiment, I'm in an experiment. This, no matter how much I am a guard, no matter that I have to. Because the only instruction they were given was, you have to maintain order in the simulated prison, obviously, with everyone being aware that it was simulated. I have been given this. No matter how much I see my fellow participants exercising violence against the prisoners, I know what reality is, and therefore I make decisions for myself because otherwise, as also happened in another experiment conducted by Milgram, public pressure can make the subject on stage administer electric shocks to another person. Because of pressure from others, okay? Obviously, the electric shocks were fake, everything was staged, but the subject pressing the button for the shocks was a completely normal person, and due to pressure, they were able to believe that it was the right thing to do. That's why it's important to have an inner axis, because if not, what happens outside will end up changing how you act.